Hello, my name is Kaylee Christine, and today I'll be talking a little bit about the Spies model of integration and the advantages and disadvantages of that model when it comes to integrating psychology and theology. In his book, The Integrative Approaches to Psychology and Christianity, David Entwistle describes the Spies model. Their primary goal is to aid in the well-being of humans, but they have a willingness to use any means necessary. They can implement both psychology and religion in order to benefit their patients. The emphasis on this is actually on the effects of the religion as opposed to the content of the religion itself. So it's minimizing actual religious belief and instead elevating psychology. There's no real commitment to any particular religion. They can pull from whatever religion they desire. And this results in watered down doctrine. Because they're pulling from multiple different religions, they are never giving a really good picture of what a true religion looks like. Entwistle describes the Spies model as when someone becomes more interested in the effects of religion, independent of the doctrinal teachings of religion, and they have participated in espionage. Entwistle describes this as similar to the psychology of religion, which John Carter and Bruce Naramore describe. The psychology of religion is naturalistic and humanistic, so it discounts the supernatural side of things, and it does elevate nature and humans over the supernatural. Carter says, concepts are infused or interpreted as having some psychological meaning derived from a particular psychological theory. So psychology is being applied to religious tenets as opposed to them working together. There are two kinds of spies that Entwistle describes. The first is foreign spies. Religion can be helpful or harmful according to foreign spies. Their primary goals are to study religion, to determine the beneficial aspects and harness those good things, but to also determine the harmful aspects and to eliminate those bad things. The second kind of spy is the domestic spy. Domestic spies generally identify with a particular religion, so this could be a psychologist who is also a Christian. However, the domestic spy would not believe in the supernatural. They would believe it is mythic. So it goes back to Carter and Naramore's humanistic and naturalistic elements of the psychology of religion. The primary goal is still the same, to promote the well-being of humans. However, they do this by acknowledging useful core doctrines and accepting them themselves. What is the appeal of being a foreign spy? Entwistle says, religious systems inevitably either foster or inhibit psychological well-being, and the psychologist is understandably interested in this phenomenon. Being a foreign spy allows the use of those beneficial aspects of theology to aid psychology, so there is an appeal there. There's also no commitment to a particular religion. They do not have to change themselves in order to offer these tenets to their clients. It's a very pragmatic choice for, say, an atheist. What is the benefit of being a domestic spy? Domestic spies have the ability to explain away supernatural phenomena. Paul Ackerman states, illustrative of this approach are attempts to subject biblical characters and events to psychological analysis in a manner that explains away their divine aspects. So they are able to separate the supernatural and instead apply a psychological aspect to that supernatural event. In this, there's also the justification for liberal Christianity. They do because they do separate those supernatural things, they kind of are picking and choosing which parts of a doctrine they are adhering to. So that would be an appeal as well. The advantages of the Spies model as a whole. David Zender says, the Spies model is an apologetic attitude that is weighted toward science. So science and religion are being explored together and they're congenial. They are allowed to work together as opposed to being intentionally separated. In this, there is a single-minded focus on the commitment to the well-being of humans, which is the primary goal of the Spies model. So they are not focused on anything else. They're not worried about squashing one belief system or the other. They are simply trying to promote the well-being of their customers. And there's no need to alter preconceived notions or presuppositions. The psychologist does not have to accept what he is teaching to his customers or his clients. He simply has to teach them whether or not he acknowledges it himself. Now for the disadvantages of the SPY model. I do not think that this model is true integration. It is actually putting psychology over theology, and so there's not a whole lot of room for them to actually interact with each other. It is producing feel-good religion instead. In John 16:33, it says, "I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world." This feel-good religion is dismissing those teachings of Jesus and others that Christians will walk through hard times. And it's simply saying, religion is valuable, but we don't have to listen to all the things, only the beneficial things. There's also, with the Spies model, a preference towards psychology. They're not necessarily taking away theology. They're simply saying psychology is better than theology. And with this, there is a rejection of the orthodox theology. There is a step being taken away from true biblical teachings, and that is causing little room for change. The true change we experience when we allow Christ to come into our hearts and change our lives. Where does Spies fit in with integration? This is a really awesome picture of the depiction of how psychology and theology can be integrated. On the x-axis, we have psychology and theology, and on the y-axis, we have integration and separation. So this is an integrative technique. It does fall above the x-axis. However, it does fall to the left side of the y-axis. Therefore, it is giving preference to psychology. It is a psychology focus. It is utilizing that theology because it is above the line. However, it's not giving equal focus to each discipline. And because of that, there is limited integration because one is over the other. And another thing is this model does not acknowledge God as sovereign. As Christians, that is our primary goal. We are to acknowledge God as our sovereign and place him over everything in our life. And that this model does not do that. So if not the Spies model, then what? What would true integration look like? I think both perspectives would be both identified and utilized. One would not have preference over the other, and there would be firm biblical grounding underneath both, not simply under theology. And there would be no picking and choosing which theological principles we want to apply to our lives and which ones we don't. Next is the adherence to Christian morals. C.S. Lewis says, "If no set of moral ideas were truer or better than any other, there would be no sense in preferring civilized morality to savage morality or Christian morality to Nazi morality. True integration would be utilizing Christian morality." A person could go to their counselor or psychologist and have a moral dilemma and be walked through it with Christian teachings. Entwistle describes this as two sides of the same tree. We can't look at just psychology or theology. When we look at the front of the tree, we see a blooming, budding, wonderful, beautiful tree. But when we walk around to the back side, we see that it is actually dying from within. And so we have to look at the tree as a whole. We cannot simply pick and choose which parts of it we want to focus on. What does the Bible say about spies? In Revelation, it talks about lukewarm Christianity. Chapter 3, verse 15 says, "I know your deeds, that you are neither cold or hot. I wish you were either one or the other." So the Spies model would not adhere to a biblical perspective because it is emphasizing lukewarm Christianity, picking some things and leaving others. The second thing is the Bible establishes the sovereignty of the Bible. In 2 Timothy 3:16, it says, "All scripture is God-breathed and is useful for teaching, rebuking, correcting, and training in righteousness." So we should be using the Bible. We should be growing from it and learning from it. Just some final thoughts. The Spies model is very appealing because it is easy integration. However, it's important to remember that it is not true integration. It is establishing one over the other. And in order to integrate both of them, we need to remember to look at both sides of the tree. Thank you.